Good morning, good morning. Welcome to In the Garden with Joyful Living. I am your host, Kimberly Dixon. While we wait for a few people to join us, I am going to invite a few people to join us. I hope everyone is doing well this morning. It looks like it's going to be another really warm day. I've given just a few people, not very many, just some of the people who normally watch us, just a quick reminder that we are on live this morning. But while we wait for a few people to join us, let me go ahead and show you the garden this morning. So the zucchini is looking fantastic. It's looking nice and lush and healthy. My straight 8 cucumber really didn't do that well this season. It struggled the entire time because it simply don't have enough pollinators, and it had an abundance of cucumbers on it, but because it wouldn't get pollinated, they would rot and die, and I'm sure that one is going to fall off pretty soon, as well as that one, because they're simply not pollinated. But I do think, well, maybe, I don't know, that one might make it because it's a little bit bigger than the other ones. The muncher cucumber, though, has done a little bit better. I've gotten a couple of cucumbers, and when I tell you these things are delicious, oh my God, they are the tiny little cucumbers. They don't get probably any bigger than that, but they are so delicious and good. The basil, chives, and Roma tomato. Got a few tomatoes down there that are ripening up, and a couple in the back. See those there? That's a flower. That's an iris. I think my neighbor gave it to me. Jalapeno pepper is getting down. That one has still edible, but it's been, if you leave them on there past they're ripe, they'll start to turn red, and as they get red, they'll get hotter. So I've been giving a lot of my jalapenos to the guy who does my yard. Marigolds doing what they're supposed to be. That cayenne red pepper is lit up like a Christmas tree. I think I need to harvest some of it. But the eggplant is doing well. I'll be harvesting that and that today, because I'm going to make me another eggplant lasagna today. The last one I had last weekend, maybe the weekend before, was so delicious. Gonna be doing that again today. The sweet banana pepper is looking lovely. I need to pick that one there, because if you leave them on the vine too long too, they'll start to turn red. My ginger is doing very well. I wish you guys could smell this, because the leaves actually smell just like ginger. This is my red bell pepper. It had several peppers on it this week, but when I examined them more closely, they were burned on one side from the sun, so I had to discard those. Strawberry mint destroyed by the sun. This cucumber back here didn't produce anything because it just didn't get pollinated. Good morning, Jay. The watermelon is doing pretty good. This is a miniature variety, and it's not ripe yet. You'll be able to tell when it's ripe because the tendril will turn brown. And there's another one back in the corner. So the watermelon is doing pretty good. Asparagus, again, are not expecting to get anything from this year. You're just supposed to let it grow, and then in the coming years, it'll produce more bountifully. On the table, we have citronella. My poor petunia got destroyed by the sun, and the calla lily is still doing well. the cherry tomato. This has been my most abundant producing tomato this year. So I've been able to get cherry tomatoes almost every other day. And this basil plant, I'm actually letting it flower because I have several other basils that I'm using for culinary reasons. But we're going to go ahead and get started. So I titled today's message twofold because I'm actually going to talk about two separate topics, but they are related. The first thing I wanted to talk about is excess. The definition of that word is an amount of something that is more than necessary or more than what's needed. And this year in the garden, we've had so much rain. We've had excessive heat. And with those, the excessive rain and the excessive heat, it causes issues for the garden. So my garden this year is really not producing that well, in addition to the issues with not having enough pollinators. So there are things that you can actually do for your garden to help mitigate some of those issues. For the excessive heat, you can install things like a shade cloth to give your plants a reprieve from the direct sunlight. And just to help so that they're just not being scorched and burned, as I mentioned with the red bell pepper, that they were literally just burned on one side to mush, because during a certain part of the day when the sun is at an angle, they are in that direct line of heat. It's just like our skin. If we go to the beach and we're in the sun, or not even to the beach, if we're just out and about all day and our skin is not properly protected, it burns. The same thing happens to the fruit on your plants. It will burn if it has too much heat. And then in addition to the excessive heat, we're also having excessive rain. So every evening we are having these torrential downpours that is detrimental to your plants. It causes root rot. So excessive heat during the day, rain during the night, plants are just not producing well. My tomato plants that are planted in the ground, one of them has died completely. The other two, the growth has been stunted because, good morning, the excessive heat will stunt the growth of your plants. Tomatoes don't like it when it's over 90 degrees consistently, and they will stop producing. So just to show you, this Roma tomato plant, you see it was growing very lushly. That's just normal seasonal stuff. But it didn't get any taller than this. It has finally started growing again where it's going to start producing tomatoes. But for the whole season, it's only been maybe 2 feet tall. And other things, the red bell pepper, all the peppers got burned, just didn't produce anything. My mint, too hot. It's just too hot for it. It got burned up. The strawberry mint, just gone. Oh, look, there's a beautiful butterfly. But I love how God just sends little reminders to you. But that's just an example of some of the things that happen when you have excessive heat. Now, we know you want to water your garden, but excessive rain is a problem too, because again, it causes root rot. The roots can't breathe, and the plant will literally die from the root up. But there is something that you can do to mitigate that. You see this zucchini plant? It suffered from probably the first month after it was planted, and it did not look like it was going to survive. But what I did to combat the excessive rain was I treated it. I treated it with hydrogen peroxide. I treated all the plants out here with hydrogen peroxide. And what that does is the extra oxygen atom gives the roots some oxygen so it can breathe in spite of all the water that's in the container. But in addition to that, peroxide also kills bacteria and it kills viruses. So the plant, that zucchini that struggled so horribly in the very beginning, is now lush and beautiful. But I said those two things about the excessive heat and the excessive rain for two things. Good morning, Cotty. It's good to see you. Good morning, Sean. The shade cloth protects the plant from the excessive heat. And that just reminds me that sometimes we need covering too. We need covering from the Word of God. We need covering from our family and friends. That thing that's going to protect us when we are being scorched up by life, when we are being burned physically and spiritually and emotionally. We need covering. If I said, wow, I didn't know that. Yes, all summer long I've been treating the plants out here to try to save some of them from the excessive rain that we're having. Because when I say it's been torrential downpours every evening, we don't normally do that. Normally in July we're in the midst of a drought, but it hasn't been that way this season. And then with the peroxide, it allows the plant to breathe and it will heal it. Guys, guess what? We need to breathe sometimes. We need to take a breath. We need to step back. We need to get that boost that will help us carry on a little bit longer. And also, we need healing. Good morning, Lori. So when I say we need healing, that doesn't necessarily mean you've got a medical condition today. It means that at some point in our life, we've had something to happen to us, whether it was as a child, whether it was in a relationship. Sorry, some of y'all, something was getting ready to bite me. The dangers of being outdoors, I felt it and I heard it. But the dangers of being in those relationships that are not healthy, whether it's a friendship, a husband, a boyfriend, a mother, a father, sometimes those relationships are not healthy. So in that, we need healing. Just like these plants need healing from bacteria and viruses. And sometimes we need a physical healing too. But the healing that I'm really speaking in regards to this morning is we need emotional healing so that we can have healthy relationships with people in our lives, in our future, with our children, with our spouses, with our friends. If we are sick emotionally, if we are sick mentally, we can't have healthy relationships with other people. Sean said, wow, great insight. Thanks for sharing. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. And this is really, truly, I mean, all of the In the Garden with Joyful Living are inspired by God, because I don't give a message unless He gives it to me. But this one is really profound for those reasons, that we need covering and that we need healing. I remember being in my grandparents' garden as a child, and it was this big, expansive space, but they never had a shade cloth because they had community. My grandmother lived next to her best friend on one side, and on the other side of her was a cousin. That was covering. They worked and lived as a unit. When it was time to work that garden, everybody worked that garden. But we are out here trying to do this thing by ourselves. And when I tell you guys that it is exhausting, it is exhausting. And I never really realized how tired I was until recently. So that brings me to the second part of this morning's topic. And that's discouragement. When we're feeling discouraged. Lord said, yes, Lord. And Fi said, that's a word. Fi said, I'm loving this message, sis. Thank you so much. But all of that excessive rain, excessive heat, when it's raining in your life, when you're being scorched up by life, guess what it leads to? It leads to discouragement. So, yesterday, my baby asked me, or told me, it's like, you should do some shorts on your channel. I used to do them. I stopped doing them because it just wasn't a good use of my time. And I looked at him and I said, I'm thinking about stopping doing it. And he said, what? He said, are you talking about shorts, or are you talking about in the garden? I said, I'm thinking about stopping doing in the garden. He said, no, he made a face. And then he said, I'm calling Aunt Val. And he literally picked up my phone and called my sister. And my sister, he explained to her what was going on. And my sister started talking to me. And she's like, okay, tell me what's really going on. And it wasn't until in that moment that I realized that I was discouraged. I was feeling discouraged because the garden is not producing the way it started out. Like in the beginning of the season, it was everything was growing so lush and so beautiful. But then the heat and the rain came, and everything stalled. Some of the stuff died. Ha ha ha, love him, Lord said. He said, I'm going to tell it. Yes, he did. And he told it. And while I was listening to my sister talk to me, so my heart shifted. And then I asked my son, I was like, okay, tell me why you think I should continue to do this. And he said, because you are helping people. They are learning from you. And if you stop doing it, they won't get that. And I'm thinking, well, there are lots of other people who are doing things that can get it. But he was like, you are teaching people and you are helping people, which is the very thing that I prayed to God about. Sometimes when we pray to God about things and he's answering the prayer, but because it doesn't look like what we think it should look like, then we get discouraged and we want to either stop, move on, or we're just feeling broken because it doesn't look like what we think it should look like. But 2 Corinthians 4:16 says, therefore, do not lose heart. Do not lose heart. 5 says, yes, you are teaching and helping. Therefore, we do not lose heart, though outwardly we are wasting away. Feel like wasting everything out here, if it looks like it's wasting away. And sometimes I feel like I am wasting away. Yet inwardly, we are being renewed day by day. I love it when the word says yet. Because yet in the word means that even though this is happening, I will continue on. Or in spite of what is happening, I'm going to continue to do what God has told me to do. In spite of, even though. So when you're feeling discouraged, because I was feeling discouraged, this is what you need to do. Number one, turn to God. There is always going to be a word in there for every situation that you have in life that is going to inspire you, motivate you, and renew you. You're being renewed day by day. But if you don't turn to it, then the world will squeeze the life out of you. And then you want to turn to your family and friends, the people that know you best, that can hear your voice and know when something's wrong. I don't care. I can call my sister anytime, and I don't have. As soon as I say hello, she'll either be like, "What's wrong?" or whatever. And Sean said, "Val nailed it. You are helpful to us more than you know. Keep pressing on." And that was Sean, my sister. It's like I've known Sean my entire life, and she's always just been this beautiful soul. But thank you, Sean. But when we're feeling discouraged, if we talk to people, if we reach out to our family and friends, the ones that know us best, then they'll be able to encourage us to keep doing what we're supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be doing in the Garden with Joyful Living. I knew it the moment God said turn the camera on, and God hasn't told me to turn the camera off. I was feeling discouraged. I was feeling beat down. But the reason I was feeling discouraged is because of the excessiveness, the excessive heat, and the excessive rain. So when it is raining excessively in your life, or when you feel like you're being burned up, ain't nothing going right, you're not making enough money at your job. You got a job. That's the worst feeling, when it's not even being unemployed, but you got a job. But the job that you have, you're showing up for every day. You're working 45, 50, 60, 75 hours, but it's not enough to meet your needs. That's being scorched. When you're trying to get to this job and you go out in the morning, you got a flat tire, or you're on the way to the job and a check engine light comes on and it starts making this excessive noise. That's being rained on excessively, because now you're going to this job that you're not making enough money on. But now the car that gets you there, it's not working right, and you need money for the repair, but you're already not making enough money. That's being rained on. And when situations like that are happening in our life, it's not personally happening to me. Personally, I work from home, so that's a blessing in and of itself. But when situations like that are happening, it discourages us. But I'm saying all of this twofold message this morning. Do not be discouraged. Don't give up. Keep pressing. We're going to have excessive heat. We're going to have excessive rain. But you keep planting your seeds. You keep tending to your garden. And even if it produces a little bit, it's still going to be a blessing. It's still going to contribute to your life. So don't get so discouraged that you give up, that you throw your hands up, that you say that I'm not going to do this. Because I was almost there. I wasn't going to do it in the garden this morning. I'm just going to, as they say, fade to black. We ain't going to do it. Good morning, Cornelius. But the twofold message this morning, when you're being burned up by the sun, when you experiencing excessive rain in your life, don't let that discourage you to the point where you give up. So guys, thank you for watching In the Garden with Joyful Living. I was really feeling this morning because this message was for me. Because had it not been for my sister and my son on yesterday, I wasn't going to get on this morning. I was going to fade to black. I'm like, I'm out of here. But I've been renewed, and I want you to be renewed. So guys, I love you. Thank you for watching In the Garden with Joyful Living. I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye. If I said, I wanted to quit school, I can't see for all the hearts coming up though. Multiple times this summer, I was discouraged. Don't be discouraged. Go ahead and get that degree. Go get your culinary degree. You are a phenomenal baker and cook. Don't let life get so hard that you don't pursue the things that you want. The thing that I would hate for any of us is for us to get to the end of our life and have regrets about what we coulda, shoulda, woulda, had. Life is always going to be popping up with those situations and circumstances, and it's going to feel hot sometimes. It's going to be raining sometimes, but I don't want you to give up. I'm not going to give up. I don't want you to give up. Fa said, thank you so much. Sean said, I needed this word this morning. Thank you. Powerful. And Laura said, you are a joyful blessing, sis. Thank you all so much. I love you. I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.